All right, strap yourselves in for this one, because today we are diving deep into some seriously intriguing territory. We're talking Area 51, but not the usual satellite photos and, conspiracy theories. This time, we're going deeper.
Deeper.
Yeah, we're going to be exploring what multiple people have seen at Area 51 while under hypnosis.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got 4 transcripts of hypnotic regression sessions, all claiming to reveal secrets about this notoriously secretive location.
So we're not just looking for facts here, right? We are looking for patterns across these accounts, common threads, recurring images, things that just pop up again and again. And maybe we can get a glimpse of what's really going on behind those closed gates.
Exactly. And, part of what makes these accounts so compelling are those vivid details, some of which are pretty bizarre.
Right.
So we're going to explore those too, because let's be honest, that's half the fun of a deep dive like this.
Yeah, okay, so let's start with the basics. What kind of physical descriptions of Area 51 did these subjects see under hypnosis? Did they all describe the same things?
There are definitely some commonalities. Most described a diamond-shaped area stripped of any vegetation with barracks and hangars visible from the surface. But it's the security measures that really stand out. Checkpoints, patrols, and even sensors covering a 10-kilometer radius.
Wow, 10 kilometers. That's a pretty extensive perimeter. One of the transcripts mentioned jeeps using hand signals to communicate, and another described these golf cart-looking vehicles just zipping around. Golf carts at a top-secret military base. It seems oddly out of place.
It does, doesn't it? It makes you wonder if they're just for efficiency or if there's something, more strategic to it. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Almost all the subjects agree that the real action is happening underground. We're not just talking about a few bunkers. These are sprawling facilities far more extensive than what you see on the surface.
Right.
One subject estimated a 500-kilometer radius.
500 kilometers? That's almost the size of some small countries. What are they supposed to be doing in all that space?
Well, this is where the accounts start to get really wild. We see descriptions of advanced labs dedicated to genetic engineering, virus research, even food production.
Wait, food production? Underground? Why would they need that?
It's unclear, but several subjects mentioned it. Some even described massive hydroponic gardens, completely self-sufficient. It's as if they're preparing for something, stocking up on supplies for some unknown event. And it's not just food production that's unsettling. Some subjects describe seeing captive people, some seemingly with psychic abilities being used for information extraction.
That's kind of a chilling possibility, right? That individual brilliance is being exploited for unknown purposes. What do you make of that?
It's certainly one of the more disturbing aspects of these accounts. And it gets even more complicated when you consider that nearly everyone mentions servers and archives storing vast amounts of data. We're talking about a massive information gathering operation, the scale of which is almost unimaginable.
So it's starting to feel like layers of an onion.
Yeah.
The deeper we go, the stranger it gets. We've got underground cities, advanced labs, and now potentially captive subjects. What's the purpose behind all of this? Is it all about national security? Or is there something bigger at play, something maybe even extraterrestrial?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the hypnotic accounts offer glimpses into both the mundane and the extraordinary. Take the command structure, for example. Most subjects describe a rigid hierarchy with scientists and personnel tightly controlled, and the true decision-making power possibly lying off-site, perhaps, at the Pentagon.
Okay, that makes sense. You can't have loose cannons running around a place like that.
Exactly. But then you have these intriguing details, like one subject describing an office with a lone figure receiving reports, no computers in sight, just this person seemingly at the top of the pyramid absorbing information in a very old-school way.
It's like something out of a spy thriller, this mysterious figure in a shadowy room pulling the strings. And then there's the chilling detail that came up multiple times. Forced recruitment of brilliant minds, identities erased, no way out. It paints a rather dark picture.
It does, and it suggests that alongside the high-tech labs and data servers, there's a darker, more unsettling side to this operation.
Definitely adds another layer to the mystery. Speaking of strange figures, let's talk about the technology these people described seeing. Was it all futuristic, or were there any surprises?
This is where the science fiction aspect really comes into play. Subjects described computers with processing power we can only dream of, capable of interdimensional communication. They saw devices that used crystals and harnessed unknown energies.
Hold on, crystals. Like the kind you see in New Age shops. Were there any more concrete details in the transcripts, or is this where the accounts get more speculative?
That's what's so fascinating. These subjects under hypnosis were blending the familiar with the utterly alien. They talked about cold fusion being actively researched, which leads to the question, were some of these technologies reverse engineered from recovered alien craft?
Now we're getting to the heart of it. Speaking of which, did any of the subjects mention the Roswell incident directly?
Yeah.
You know, the alleged UFO crash back in '47?
The Roswell connection definitely came up. Some subjects saw debris from crashed alien craft being studied at Area 51. Others described the Roswell incident itself as a staged event, a smokescreen to cover up other activities. It's almost like there are two parallel narratives running side by side.
Which makes you wonder, could there be a grain of truth to both sides? Maybe there was a crash, but it was also used as an opportunity to distract from something even more secretive. What do you think is more likely?
It's hard to say, but both interpretations speak to a recurring theme in these accounts. The idea that nothing is as it seems, that there are always hidden agendas at play.
It's all starting to feel very X-Files, isn't it? But what's really fascinating is that these subjects under hypnosis are drawing connections between Area 51 and events happening in the outside world. It's like they're suggesting that this secret base isn't just isolated in the desert, it's somehow influencing global events, shaping our reality in ways we can't even comprehend.
That's a very insightful observation, and it gets to the heart of what makes these hypnotic accounts so challenging to interpret. Are we dealing with genuine psychic insights, or are these just elaborate fantasies playing out in the subconscious minds of these individuals? There's no easy answer, but that ambiguity is what makes it so thought-provoking.
And it leads to an even bigger question. What if these accounts are tapping into something real? Something about the nature of consciousness and reality that we're only beginning to understand?
That's a question that keeps me coming back to this topic. It challenges our assumptions about what's possible, about the limits of human perception, and the true nature of the universe we inhabit.
It's enough to make you want to book a hypnosis session yourself, just to see what your own subconscious might reveal. But before we all rush off to find a hypnotist, I think it's important to acknowledge that these accounts, while compelling, are just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Absolutely. We need to approach this information with a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking, while also remaining open to the possibility that there might be more to the story than we currently understand.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance, right?
Mhm.
Not dismissing things outright, but also not accepting everything at face value. So what do you think, based on everything we've discussed, what's the most important takeaway for our listeners so far? What's the one thing they should remember about Area 51 and these hypnotic accounts?
For me, it comes down to the idea of multiple layers of reality. These accounts suggest that there's more to Area 51 than just the physical base, the technology, and the potential alien presence. There's also an energetic dimension, a realm of consciousness and interdimensional connections that we're only beginning to glimpse. And that, I think, is where the real mystery lies.
It's like the tip of the iceberg, right? We're seeing a tiny fraction of what's actually going on, and the rest is hidden beneath the surface. Which leads to another question. If these hypnotic accounts are revealing truths about Area 51, what does that mean for our understanding of the world of technology, of our place in the universe? Let's dive into that next.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If even a fraction of what these individuals describe is true, it suggests that we're living in a reality far more complex and stranger than we ever imagined. And that raises a whole host of other questions. What are the ethical implications of these advanced technologies? What role do governments and secret agencies play in shaping our understanding of the universe? And perhaps most importantly, what does it mean to be human in a world where the boundaries of reality are constantly being redefined?
Those are some seriously heavy questions. I'm starting to feel like I need to lie down and stare at the ceiling for a while. But before we get too existential, there's one more topic from the outline that we haven't touched on yet. The planned Storm Area 51 event from a few years back. Remember that? The one that started as a joke online and almost turned into a real security threat.
Oh, absolutely. It was a fascinating example of how quickly something can go viral and capture the collective imagination. Millions of people signed up to Naruto run into Area 51, claiming they couldn't be stopped. It was a mix of genuine curiosity, internet humor, and a healthy dose of defiance against government secrecy.
It really captured the public's fascination with Area 51, didn't it? But what's interesting is that some of the hypnotic accounts offer a different perspective on the whole event. What did those subjects see happening with Storm Area 51?
Well, there were a couple of distinct viewpoints that emerged. Some subjects saw the government actively intervening to prevent the raid using disinformation and social media manipulation to dampen enthusiasm. They described sophisticated algorithms being deployed to spread counter-narratives and sow seeds of doubt among the potential participants.
So it wasn't just memes and viral videos that stopped those people. There were unseen forces at work shaping public opinion from the shadows. That's both intriguing and a little unsettling.
It is, isn't it? It raises questions about the power of online platforms to influence real-world events. Other subjects described a more subtle manipulation where the government allowed the event to gain momentum, knowing it would eventually fizzle out on its own. They saw it as a way to gauge public interest in Area 51, a sort of social experiment, to test the waters and see how far people were willing to go.
So they were using the whole thing as a data-gathering opportunity. I guess that makes sense from a strategic standpoint. They could learn a lot about public sentiment, online behavior, and even security vulnerabilities without having to do much more than observe.
Precisely. And that speaks to a recurring theme in these hypnotic accounts. The idea that nothing is as it seems, that there are always layers of strategy and manipulation at play, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as Area 51.
It's all starting to feel very Matrix-like, isn't it? Like we're all living in a carefully constructed simulation with unseen forces pulling the strings. But if we step back for a minute, what do you think is the most significant takeaway from these differing perspectives on the Storm Area 51 event?
I think it highlights the complex relationship between government secrecy, public curiosity, and the power of the internet to both amplify and distort information. It shows us how easily a simple joke can spiral into a cultural phenomenon, and how those in power can exploit that phenomenon for their own ends.
It's a reminder that we need to be critical thinkers, especially in the digital age. Don't just accept everything you see online at face value. Do your own research, question your assumptions, and be wary of anyone who claims to have all the answers. But on the flip side, don't be afraid to explore the unknown, to ask difficult questions, and to challenge the official narratives. That's what these hypnotic accounts ultimately encourage us to do, to dig deeper, to think outside the box, and to consider the possibility that reality might be far stranger than we ever imagined.
Absolutely. These accounts, while fantastical in some aspects, offer a glimpse into the human desire to make sense of the unknown. They challenge us to question our assumptions about what's possible and to acknowledge the limitations of our current understanding.
Okay, before we completely lose ourselves in the rabbit hole of Area 51 conspiracy theories, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the more metaphysical aspects of these hypnotic accounts. Specifically, the descriptions of Area 51 on what some subjects refer to as the energetic plane.
Ah, yes. This is where the accounts take a decidedly more esoteric turn.
For those of us who aren't familiar with the concept of an energetic plane, can you explain what that means?
Think of it like this. Imagine a layer of reality beyond our physical senses, a realm where thoughts, emotions, and intentions manifest as a kind of energetic field. It's a concept found in many spiritual traditions, often described as a subtle realm that interpenetrates and influences our physical world.
Okay, so it's not a physical location, but more like a dimension of consciousness or energy.
Exactly. And several subjects describe experiencing Area 51 on this energetic level, reporting a range of unusual phenomena. Some described a dark, heavy energy permeating the base, a sense of oppression or foreboding. Others felt the presence of otherworldly beings, entities that seemed to be observing or even influencing activities at the base.
Otherworldly beings, and this is where I start to get a little skeptical. Are we talking about aliens here or something else entirely?
It's not always clear. Some subjects use the term aliens, while others describe them as interdimensional beings or entities with consciousness far beyond our own. What's interesting is that these descriptions often align with ancient myths and esoteric traditions that speak of beings from other realms who interact with humanity.
So are these hypnotic accounts suggesting that Area 51 is a point of contact between our world and other dimensions?
That's one interpretation, and it leads to some pretty...
That's a good point. Just because we can't explain something with our current scientific models doesn't mean it's not real. Maybe these hypnotic accounts are pointing towards a deeper reality, a dimension of existence that we're only beginning to glimpse.
Precisely. And perhaps by exploring these unconventional perspectives, we can expand our understanding of the universe and our place within it.
Well said. Now, speaking of expanding our understanding, there's one more aspect of these hypnotic accounts that I find particularly intriguing. The descriptions of time behaving differently within Area 51.
Ah, yes, the manipulation of time. This is where things get truly mind-bending.
Time manipulation. Is that even possible? Are we talking about time travel here? Because that would be next level.
Not necessarily time travel in the traditional sense, but something perhaps even more profound. Think of it as a bending or warping of time, a place where the past, present, and future converge. Several subjects described experiencing time differently within Area 51, almost as if it were fluid and nonlinear. They talked about seeing technology that seemed to defy our current understanding of physics, things that appeared to operate outside the normal flow of time.
Hold on, so are you saying that the hypnotic account suggests that time itself is being manipulated at Area 51? This is getting pretty wild. We're going to need to dive into this further, but unfortunately we've run out of time for this segment. We'll have to pick up this thread in the next and final part of our deep dive.
I agree. This is a topic that deserves its own dedicated exploration. We'll delve into the specifics of those temporal anomalies, the potential technologies involved, and the mind-boggling implications of manipulating the very fabric of time.
I'm already on the edge of my seat. To our listeners, buckle up because it's about to get really strange. Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle this final piece of the Area 51 puzzle. This whole idea that time itself might be manipulated at this mysterious base. I have to admit, this is the part that really stretches my understanding of what's possible.
It's definitely one of the most mind-boggling aspects of these hypnotic accounts. This idea that humans could actually control or alter time has been a staple of science fiction for decades, but to think it might be happening in reality is a whole other level.
Exactly. So let's unpack this a bit. What specific details did these hypnotized subjects offer to support this whole idea that time is being, warped or manipulated at Area 51?
Well, several subjects described witnessing technologies that seemed to operate outside the normal flow of time. They mentioned devices that could record events before they happened or even project images of future events. One subject even recounted seeing a room where time seemed to stand still, as if frozen in a single moment.
That's giving me serious déjà vu. But are we talking about actual time travel here or something more like precognition or remote viewing? Those concepts are already pretty mind-bending, but they seem at least somewhat within the realm of possibility.
It's difficult to say for sure, as, these are subjective experiences filtered through the lens of hypnosis. However, the descriptions are remarkably consistent. Many subjects reported feeling disoriented, as if their sense of time was being disrupted or distorted. Some even described experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously, seeing past, present, and future events layered on top of each other.
Okay, now my head is officially spinning.
Yeah.
But if we entertain this possibility that time manipulation is happening at Area 51, it raises another question. Wouldn't there be some kind of ripple effect on the rest of the world? Shouldn't we be seeing evidence of temporal anomalies elsewhere?
That's a valid point. And it leads us to some even more intriguing possibilities. Several subjects describe seeing technology at Area 51 that could influence events in the outside world not through direct intervention, but by manipulating probabilities. Imagine subtly nudging events in a desired direction, shaping outcomes without leaving any obvious trace.
So they're not sending people back in time to kill baby Hitler, but they might be able to tip the scales in favor of certain outcomes, like influencing elections or preventing disasters. That's both fascinating and terrifying.
Precisely. It raises a whole host of ethical questions about free will, determinism, and the potential consequences of tampering with the very fabric of reality.
This is heavy stuff. If time is indeed fluid and malleable, as these accounts suggest, it changes everything we thought we knew about the nature of reality. It challenges our very understanding of cause and effect, past and future.
Absolutely. It suggests a universe far more complex and interconnected than we ever imagined. And it begs the question, if this level of technology exists, what else might be possible?
This deep dive has taken us on quite a journey. From underground facilities and advanced technologies to the possibility of alien contact and even time manipulation. While we started with just the physical descriptions of Area 51, we've ended up exploring some of the most profound questions about the nature of reality itself.
And that, I believe, is the true legacy of Area 51. It's not just a secret base hidden in the desert, but a symbol of our collective fascination with the unknown, our desire to push the boundaries of what's possible, and our willingness to confront those profound mysteries that lie at the heart of existence.
Well said. It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know, so much left to explore and understand.
Exactly. And perhaps as we continue to delve into the mysteries of Area 51 and beyond, we'll uncover truths that challenge our current understanding of the universe and our place within it.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride, everyone. Remember, stay curious, keep questioning, and never stop exploring the unknown. Until next time.